Welcome back, Guardians, to the Idaho Vanguard podcast as part of Idaho 5051 with your host, Sonia,
Hello.
Lotus,
Sup?
and I'm Pine. We're here bringing you journalism against tyranny, talking about Idaho and national politics, helping you break down the headlines, the bylines, so you can understand what is happening in our world without panic or overwhelm. We invite you to subscribe to our Substack to help grow the resistance and independent media in Idaho. And if you're able, we would really be eternally grateful if you donated to the cause with a paid subscription or a one-time donation to help us keep the signal going. Today's episode features talks about China, trade, insider trading, as well as our predictions for the upcoming Idaho primaries that happen on May 19th, which, as of this recording on Monday, May 18th, is tomorrow. Yeah. So you get an opportunity to get out and vote in a smaller election that still matters because all elections matter. So I actually want to talk about primary predictions. We have a few key races in the state that have quite a few contenders and challengers on both sides of the aisle, both for the Democratic and the Republican parties. Independents do not participate in primaries and they will show up on the ballot in November regardless. But for example, we have a couple of people we know running for the Ada County Commissioner's office,
Mhm.
and they under the Democratic ticket, and they both have primary challengers. That's Kelsey Marie Warner, who's running for Ada County Commissioner seat 1, and Michael Fitzgerald, the good Fitz, is running for Ada County Commissioner seat 2. And both of them have primary challengers. How are we feeling about their races?
I kind of think in both cases that they've been running a really strong campaign
I feel
and
like,
getting
yeah.
out there, and I haven't seen as much from their challengers. So I'm guessing that they're going to win their primaries.
I'm kind of feeling the same way, especially I know that Kelsey Marie has been running a really strong campaign. This is her second race for an elected office, so she is running with a little bit of name recognition, which I think is going to work out in her favor. Her primary challenger does have name recognition within the Democratic Party, so it should be an interesting race, if nothing else. Michael is a newcomer, and
Yeah.
so is his challenger.
Okay, and should we talk a little bit about why we need to call him the good Fitz?
Yeah. So it has been a common occurrence online and even within our own organization that we would confuse Michael Fitzgerald with a certain Fitzpatrick.
Mark and Michael.
Yes.
Two different first names.
Yes, but Fitzpatrick and Fitzgerald keep getting confused. So we started an online campaign to refer to Michael as the good Fitz, so that people would stop panicking in the moment that they would see his name pop up. And for those of you who might be listening from out of our area or from out of our state, Mark Fitzpatrick is a gubernatorial candidate on the Republican ticket. And he's most well known for his invention of the Hetero Awesomeness Festival. And I'm not even making that name up. That is the name that he chose.
Well, and
Dozens of people showed up.
A whole dozens.
I don't even know if it was multiple
I
dozens.
don't even know if it was multiple. It
But
was pretty pathetic showing.
that's not the only thing.
No.
There are many layers to the. I mean, somebody recently was calling him rightfully online flat Earth Fitzpatrick or something like
Yeah.
that. And he says, I'm not a flat earther because there's no coherent theory of it, but I think we should all just listen to voices that say that the CIA is running psyops and controlling the weather or something,
Yeah.
and hiding that the Earth is flat from everyone. I just there the plausible deniability is really thin
He's
for anybody who wants to dig into it. That the mask, that the veneer that goes over the extremism, it's not easy to, it's not hard to like peek behind it and go, oh, okay, this is where all the extremists feel the most comfortable, and that is his base that he is driving his campaigns from, and that is something we do not want in Idaho. Idaho has a long history of having to drive out extremists. We're constantly having to combat it. We do quite successfully. That's why we have things like the WASMA Center for Human Rights here in Idaho. Um, but it is something we constantly have to battle because of our reputation as a hidey hole for these creeps to come and lurk.
Yeah.
And that is what it seems to me, and I don't think I'm alone in this, Mark Fitzpatrick is intentionally capitalizing on that and making his spaces a safe breeding ground for extremism and
Yeah.
trying to normalize it.
And very much trying to
And of course,
normalize
he's
it.
trying to put a healthy spin on it, but you can't. It's trying to polish a turd.
It's putting lipstick on a pig. He is from, first of all, he is from out of state. He only moved here about 5 or 6 years ago, from, of all places, California. So anybody who's telling you that Idaho's left-leaning population or progressive population or population who just isn't a bunch of bigots is from California, that's not true. California is exporting all of their bigots to Idaho because they feel that this place is safe. Because Idaho has a reputation for kind of live and let live, which we do as a born and bred Idahoan. That is our ethos, is sort of live and let live. As long as your stuff doesn't mess with my stuff, I don't care. Do what you're going to do. The problem is these guys come in here and force their stuff to be messed with on our stuff, right? They create a lot of division. They get upset. Fitzpatrick is also quite famous for putting a bounty on information of Mayor McLean's head. He doesn't even live in Boise, keep in mind. But he's mad that the Boise mayor is, more progressive than he thinks she should be. So he put a $10,000 bounty out on information that would get her thrown out of office or something like that. To date, nobody's collected on it, and he raised a bunch of money through a GoFundMe, which I think is ultimately was his deal, was a scam, to raise a bunch of money. He's just but he is running for governor on the Republican ticket, and I am a little bit worried about it. Not in a full blown, we definitely need to deal with this kind of way, but I feel like it's definitely something that we do need to be talking about, and aware that he's gaining momentum and traction with people, who dismiss his blatant racism, his homophobia, his transphobia, his open anti Semitism, his anti Mormon stances and things. He is a white nationalist Christian, and I use the term Christian incredibly loosely here. Um, and it is definitely representative of the worst of Idaho's reputation and the worst. I get very tired of Idaho being in the national news for absolute insanity, and this guy, over the last 4 or 5 years, has been chief amongst them.
He brings that, and then he tries to say, "Oh, but I don't mean it like that.
Yeah.
I'm just making a space." When the Nazis are clapping for, or the KKK is clapping for what you're saying, that's
Yeah.
when you need to pause and look at what it is that you're doing
Yeah.
and rethink, what nuance you need to bring into it. And it's there's been multiple times, like Mark's been on the news, where somebody he's brought on has said that Boise's great because blah 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 blah, and then whispers into the mic just like this, like, there's no black people here.
Yeah.
And that is so not okay on so many levels.
Yep.
And Mark went on the news to quote unquote defend himself, but then never refuted that statement. He just said, I didn't say it.
He laughed at
So
it
he
though.
makes space for people to talk that way.
And he invited that guy. And by the way, the man who made that comment is a white nationalist from northern Idaho. He moved here. He's not from here. He moved to northern Idaho and created a safe haven. But he is most famous for taking part in planning the Charlottesville Nazi March a few years ago.
I thought he was like from somewhere in the South. He's from Northern Idaho.
No, he lives in northern Idaho now. He's not from here. He
When
moved
did he
here
move?
after Charlottesville blew up.
Oh.
But it was he helped plan that
See,
march.
that's what I mean. Idaho has a reputation for being the place the extremists can come hide.
Yep.
And we've always like my entire lifetime,
Yep.
and going, like, listening to my parents talk their lifetime, and we have success in overcoming that as people who know what it means to be a good neighbor and to not tolerate hate. Idaho's too great for hate. All those types of campaigns have had to exist for a reason, but this is where extremism comes to try to hide, and we are about to see more of that, I think.
I think so, especially as Fitzpatrick continues to get national attention for his shenanigans. He's also a perpetual victim, but he seems to be the strongest challenger to Brad Little, who is our current governor of voucher fame and signing some really disgusting and deplorable bills. Um, in this state over this last year. I feel like Little will get the nomination from the Republican Party just because he is the incumbent. He's the recognizable name. He has a massive war chest. He has a lot of very large industry backing in the state from agriculture and things like that. And Fitzpatrick does not.
Well, and a lot of people recognize that he's slimy.
Yeah, but I am slightly concerned that he's going to perform better than we think he is, and that
Yeah, he
worries
is.
me.
I
Yeah.
agree. He is very much going to perform. I mean, okay, and here's the thing. I don't know if it's okay to say this or not, but I actually respect the way that he got out there and ran a good solid race. Like Mark Fitzpatrick went and talked to people.
He
And
did.
showed up all over the state.
He did. And to regular people, he didn't just talk to business and industry. And for anyone who is currently running a campaign, whether you have a primary challenger or not, that is something to look at.
And I respect the fact that he's an ideologue, even though his ideas are awful, right?
I mean, there is something to be said. Like he has done the work.
He has run what needs we need more people doing, like, showing up the way that Mark Fitzpatrick is. We cannot have the only person doing it be somebody like him.
Exactly.
Somebody like the only real listening to the people voice that's showing up with consistency and building momentum, being somebody who is cloaking extremism.
It's not even cloaking half the time. Like you give him 10 minutes to blather on about absolutely nothing because I have watched a lot of his stuff. He says a whole lot without saying a dang thing. But you give him about 10 minutes, at about the 10-minute and 30-second mark, the insanity will show up and the madness will show up. And he's one of these guys who comes in here and tells us that Idaho has changed. Yes, it has in the last 5 years. It's gotten way more extreme. And those of us who lived here our entire lives can tell you that, right? But he is insistent that the thing that Idaho is, it's gotten less extreme. It's gotten to this, to that. And I sit there and look at that and I'm like, what would you know about it?
Well, they finger point at
Us in particular.
well, yeah, it's sort of the rhetoric around immigrants being criminals
Yep.
and LGBTQ community like coming for our children like a bunch of boogeymen, and the Democrats are Antifa, which are, a bunch of socialist Marxist something 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 boogeyman talk. And that's what they're pointing at
Yeah.
in order to distract folks from the old school, we tried and true anti-Semitism, racism,
Yeah.
and forcing, like, coercing other people to act like they want.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of like liberty for me but not for thee in this group. And so that is like my big concern on the Republican side with the governor's race. There's a few other primary challengers um, on the Republican side, but
Well,
we've
like
platformed Justin Plant
Justin
with the
Plant and
governor debate.
Sean Crystal
Yeah,
are also running
and
in
they're
the primary. They will be, if you're voting on a Republican ballot, they will be there. You can vote for them. I haven't seen, like, okay, so in my opinion, what I've seen people get out there, it looks like, Brad Little is running on his incumbent status, and whatever he's been doing with the big ag federations and spaces like that, and he's leveraged his incumbency, as is something that happens in American politics,
yeah,
to be his platform to run on again. And then Mark Fitzpatrick has been running that, like, connected
shock and
across the state.
well, and shock and awe. Like
Yes, very much.
he
And
does a lot of like publicity stunt stuff and then cries about it to the television and to anyone
which
who
is
will
its own
listen about,
publicity stunt.
yeah, it is a publicity stunt about how he's the victim of whatever and what have you, like,
All I mean to say is that he's run and gotten a lot of attention, right?
yes, in
Um,
an attention economy, which is a
and
problem.
then Justin Plant
Yep.
has gotten out there a lot. But I think that vote is going to be split with people that I've heard of, maybe Mark Fitzpatrick, and haven't paid enough attention, just know that they're mad at Brad Little.
Yeah, which is my biggest concern.
And then don't come find Justin Plant or Sean Crystal.
Neither of whom have the financial backing that Fitzpatrick or Little do.
But let me also say, if either of those gentlemen keep at it,
agreed.
They could probably keep growing, because I see in them, like, just the stuff I've
Plant has
listened,
really come a long way, like from when his campaign first dropped.
and they've both done homework.
They have.
Like, they've both showed up in a meaningful way, not just in a I'll put my name on the ballot but not do anything and nobody knows anything about me. And I do feel like I've seen just more from Justin Plant than I have from Sean Crystal, but that might also just be the spaces that I've happened to come across.
Yeah. So that's the Republican governor's race. What about the Dem?
So I only know
governor's
two.
race?
I only know two of
There
those on
are
the ballot.
3 names on the ballot.
Okay, tell me who.
Well, we have Maxine Durand
Yes.
from the Twin Falls area. We have Terry Pickens, who's from Boise, and Jill Kirkman, I think is her name.
Okay.
Who is from somewhere up north. I want to say like the Post Falls area, but that may not be correct. But I want to say that she's from the north. She has not been out and about very long. She entered the race, I think, a little bit late. So I don't know much about her, but I do know much about Maxine and Terry, and I feel like kind of the zeitgeist in the air is that it's going to come down to Maxine and Terry. And
Agreed.
I don't. I want to feel like Idaho politics, that Terry feels more like an Idaho politician, but I don't know, man. I think we could find a surprise. I think either way, the Dem primaries are going to tell us a lot about who the Democratic voters in Idaho actually are. And I'm actually really excited about it.
It's been cool having the race feel like a real competition.
It has.
Do you have thoughts on that, Lotus?
Yeah, Lotus. I think Lotus is tired today.
Yeah. I'm fine with either of them. I think Terry has very different strengths than Maxine.
I agree.
I think Maxine is very progressive, very idealist, has big visions for Idaho and for what we can be. I think currently Terry's legalese history and ability to speak within all of that is a boon for her, and I think that that will ultimately sway it.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like when I look at the policies of both candidates, I feel like they're really aligned. Like,
They're
right?
very
Their
similar,
policies
yeah.
are very similar. I feel like the primary difference comes down to things like Terry thinks the base minimum wage should be 15 in the state of Idaho, and Maxine thinks it should be like 20, right? And I'm like, if that is the differences that we're selecting on, freaking great, right?
Oh yeah, and I don't mean I don't mean that Maxine is like way off in the weeds. It's just on a spectrum.
Yeah.
You know, one's a little bit further out than the other.
So I am very excited to see what comes about. Like, if this podcast gets released,
it should be out
the
tomorrow
day
morning.
we're May 19th.
Yep.
Make sure you get out and vote.
Yeah, you will still have time by the time this goes to air. You will still have time to go vote.
Yeah, and if you're voting right now as this is coming out, I might be at the polls then too, because that's the block of time. I've got late morning. It's time for me to go to the polls.
Yep.
Hopefully there's not a line. Otherwise, I'll be going back with kids in tow after school. That'll be interesting.
Y'all got to take advantage of
that
early
before.
voting. It is so nice. There's no one there ever. It's great.
Yes.
But here's the thing: is we get asked a lot about like, what do we do? How do we engage in protecting our country from the things that are happening at a national level and at local level too, that is incredibly damaging and harmful to our liberties and our freedoms. And I will tell you that the first step is to vote in every election, every time. And if you are confused, you can always reach out to us and ask for our personal opinions and what we would, or we'll break down what policies we know about. Because the other interesting races that I'm seeing are the Joes. We call them the Joes, Joe Morrison and Joe Evans, who are challenging Risch and Simpson respectively, I believe. Or is it Risch and
Joe.
no, Risch and Fulcher. So Joe Evans is a challenger for Risch on the Republican ticket, and Joe Morrison is a challenger for Fulcher on the Republican ticket. And they are both solid dudes. We've sat down and talked with them. They've been willing to break bread with us, even though we are definitely on the other side of the aisle as people. Um, our organization is nonpartisan, but I think it's fairly obvious where we kind of stand as humans. Um, and both of the Joes are pro human rights and pro democracy. They come at it from a Republican lens, a little bit more economically conservative lens, but they recognize the things that are happening in this country, and they're standing up. And I think that's really cool. I think it would be very fascinating if on the Republican side Evans was able to challenge Risch. I'm not sure that he's going to. Risch has a massive war chest as well, and he also has the incumbency. And the man is a cockroach and has been in politics since 1977. So, but Vulture is much more up for grabs. He's far less established.
I would have loved to have seen Evans be able to get out to more spaces. And I know
Yeah,
at one point he was making plans to, but it's really hard.
and
Like it's a
expensive.
massive personal sacrifice.
And it is very expensive because Idaho is huge. It's not like it's Connecticut or Rhode Island, right? Like this is a massive state.
Which is why people tend to run within their district or precinct first before they go for something that is statewide.
Yeah,
And that's where if we as a community want to see people running those statewide races, we need to hold that space for them and make sure they get that support,
yeah. Get
because
that.
without that support and life happening is incredibly difficult to really get your name out there to
Yeah.
grow a campaign that's going to be big enough. Now, I don't know who all else is on those tickets with those guys. Like if the votes split at all, I feel like it might be.
I feel like those, I mean, maybe it's just because those are the circles that we run in, so we recognize their names a lot more. I feel like the challenge to Fulcher seat is a easier grasp. Rish's seat is really, he is entrenched in there.
Mm.
Um, and I would love to see someone on the Republican ticket unseat him, but I think it's really going to come down to Rish and Achilles at
Well,
the
and like what
election.
we've seen with Kaylee Peterson, she is running. This is her third time going through a
Second or third,
primary.
I
it
think
might be.
second.
I think it's her second time going through a primary, but she has
Well, no, I know she's run two.
congressional races ahead of
Yeah,
this, right? Yeah.
which means she's gone through the primaries now. This will be her third time through.
This is, I think, one of the first times she's actually had a Dem challenger, and I don't think he's got much of a chance. He's entered the race late, and he
Sure,
doesn't have the name recognition
but
that
all that
she
to say,
does.
she's coming up on 6 years of campaigning.
Yeah, she's been working at it really hard, and I think she stands a chance at taking Fulcher's
And
seat
so if
from
you
him.
run once and you don't win, that means you just barely got started
That
and you
means you
didn't
run
get
again.
incredibly lucky. Right.
Yeah.
And look at like that we were just talking about Mark Fitzpatrick and how he's been getting out there. Well, this dude has been in Boise stirring up the extremists
Yep.
for 5 years.
4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
And so through his bar, he has, and whatever else he's been up to, right? He has a brand that he's building off of. And it is that recognition piece and where your community can know you. Like,
Yeah. Good, bad, and ugly.
well, and when you get to know somebody, right? We assume the best of them for a while. And the more we get to know them, usually the more we like them. And even if it's somebody you massively disagree with,
Yeah.
you'll be able to find some common ground. And so that's why name recognition is a huge piece to actually get people's vote. If they feel like
It
they
is.
kind of know you, they're more inclined to feel like they can trust you until you mess it up enough, which Mark has, but then that requires people getting the word out on that through the grapevine.
Well, and it's the vast majority of people are what we call like low information voters, and it's because everybody's busy
Have lives, have
and
live
trying to
in.
survive
Yep.
and paying $4, almost $5 a gallon for gas and all of this other stuff.
Not to mention the messiness of
And the
politics.
messiness. So it's really hard when you see 4 or 5 names on a ballot to be like, well, how do I pick the right one? So that's where net name recognition comes in. That's where getting out in front of people comes in and building a movement from the ground up. And it is not impossible to unseat these incumbents. It really isn't. And you don't necessarily need to have all the money that they've got and all the backing that they've got, but it does require that you run a campaign, and it probably is going to require that you run more than once, and that is fine. That is the nature of politics. If you are truly in it for the act of creating change within your community, then keep running. If you're in it because you want that job in that position, then what are you doing here? They shouldn't be running at all. Which is one of the reasons that I one of the many reasons that I take a gripe with Fitzpatrick, is because not only is he a racist and anti-Semite and all this other stuff, he doesn't want the job to better the community. He wants the job because he wants the job.
He wants
He
the
wants the
power.
title. And
Well,
it's
this is me reading it into.
why Trump ran.
This is
Trump
me
didn't
reading
run
into
to
his
make the country
motivation.
better.
Yes.
He ran for the title.
Well, he ran because they.
He
This is
ran
me.
'cause he
This
was
is me
running the
playing
money.
armchair psychiatrist or whatever. But they're running because they want approval and acceptance and to be seen as like
Powerful.
power in lieu of actual respect,
Yeah.
right? And please just go to therapy
Go to
and
therapy.
leave the rest of us alone. I'm happy to um
Yeah, go to
I'm
therapy for
happy to
God's
support
sakes.
you getting healthy. We don't need to do that by you having all the being the
The nuclear codes. Thank you.
yes.
Like you don't need those to heal from your childhood trauma that your father didn't love you enough. But yeah, there's a difference between someone who's running because they truly believe that they will make a positive impact, and those who are running to garner a title and power and influence and what they think of as respect. But you're right, it is power in lieu of being actually respected within your community
Yeah.
and
Well,
admired
and
within your
it
community.
doesn't have to be like when we say your community, it sounds like we're talking about the broader big community. I feel like that problem manifests in the smaller spaces. Those people that, live in your house with you, the extended family that you were raised with, your actual friend group, like whoever it is you spend your time with, if that's a healthy
Your
community or not.
daddy.
Yes, that's where the issues are being projected
Yeah, yeah.
from.
I feel like there's a lot of daddy issues on the far extremist right side of the aisle.
Well,
I
and
didn't
then
even
yeah,
think
we
that
could
side of
we
the
could get
aisle.
into
Like
talking about the patriarchy, and it is interesting. This is another
maybe not
pod.
for this
This is
podcast.
another
Maybe
podcast.
for another
I know
podcast.
we might have touched on it in the past, actually.
We
That
probably have.
that it's interesting watching the conversation that's more in the right space on the Republican conservative side, whatever, start to touch on our young men are not okay, and it's like, oh, good, you're recognizing it.
And now the appropriate thing is to go to therapy, not run for office and get the nuclear codes. Okay, so that's our primary discussion predictions. I'm excited to see what happens. Tuesday night, we'll all be down at Western Collective with Kaylee Peterson. The other thing we wanted to talk about was trade, because it's a big issue. It affects agricultural trade is a massive part of Idaho's economy, and the regime's president Trump went to China to talk with President Xi about reestablishing Chinese American trade that he blew up for no apparent reason. And he took all of the billionaire tech bros with him on Air Force One. It wasn't like they just went and took their own private jets, which they all freaking have. They flew on Air Force One. I
I
have a
need
lot of
I
feelings
need
about
names.
this.
I need names. Who did he take with him?
Musk, Tim Cook, the head of NVIDIA, the head of OpenAI. I was just like, and they do have a vested interest in opening up Chinese trade again, of course, obviously, because of chips and rare earth minerals manufacturing and tech, and the fact that all of our phones and everything are made over there. I was just absolutely appalled.
Hold on. Did they all go in the same airplane?
They all flew on Air Force One.
So Musk and Trump had sort of this like reunion after their fallout a year ago.
They've been reunited for a while because Musk needs a billionaire. He needs subsidies from the government to keep SpaceX afloat, and also because SpaceX is about to go public. And if he pisses Trump off,
Where have they been going together?
they've just been they're back in the good graces of one another. They haven't been going anywhere together, as far as I can tell. but they're back in one another's good. Musk has to kiss his butt because he needs SpaceX to go public and make money, and he
Yeah.
can't do that without the government's blessing, without the FEC's blessing, um,
All right. No, that
or the
gives me
FTC. Excuse
I
me.
have a working model of what it was like to be on that plane.
Yeah, could you imagine that many
Can I just
egos?
say I do not envy any of them
Oh God, can you imagine having to kiss that guy's? He smells.
or to be that
He's
guy.
dumb, and having to kiss his butt just so that you can get
Going back to the men not being
trade
okay.
with China.
This is where the top trickles. This is the real trickle down,
Yeah.
or vice versa too.
So yeah, that was disgusting. But also, Keg's Breath went with them and a few other muckety mucks from the cabinet. And China sent absolutely none of their highest ranking officials to greet them at the airport, which was snub. Um, but so the goal was to reestablish trade with China, which of course Trump blew up with his tariffs, putting insane tariffs on China. So China pulled out of a lot of our trade deals in terms of both what they send to the United States and what they take from the United States. What they take from the United States is predominantly agriculture based. Um, and then they did not do that. They, in fact, went to Argentina to get a lot of their trade over the last year. They did, over sometime last year, make nice with Trump and say, well, we'll buy $12 billion worth of farm stuff, soybeans, grains, that kind of stuff.
Who did?
China said that they would keep
When?
last year. Keep in mind, in 2024, they purchased between 24 and 27 billion dollars worth of agricultural products from the United States. That's just agricultural products. That doesn't include anything else that they may have purchased from the US. So to drop that down to 17 billion or to 12 billion last year in 2025, that's a half. That's a huge hit to our farmers. Farm foreclosures and bankruptcies are up 45% in the last year.
Excuse me.
So there's now they have agreed, China has agreed to purchase 17 billion in agriculture trade next year. Still not 24 billion. Still not.
So when farms go bankrupt, I'm sorry I don't have more statistics for this, but I know that, our listeners can go look up the process and let's see, Blackbird Co-op Farms or something, and then Farm to Tabor, Tabor. Um, Great sources of information,
Yep.
especially since we are in an agriculture-based state.
Yep.
If you want to be more informed, I highly recommend checking those accounts out for what it's like when a farm goes bankrupt, what happens. They don't just have to sell the farm right away. There's actually several steps.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not costing us taxpayers a ton of money and ultimately
Well,
coming back
and
that
then
direction.
JD Vance's company comes in and buys the land, which will then be sold to developers, and you will have the very famous Idahoan saying, "I remember when that used to be a farm field." Um,
Yep.
and now it's a subdivision, and then we have to ship our food from further away, which, by the way, with the cost of fuel, is going to cost more and more and more. And the cost of fuel impacts the price of goods, even if you want to buy it, at your local farmers market that was grown in a farm 20 miles from the city center. It's still going to cost more because diesel is expensive, and diesel is what runs tractors and all of that equipment. So, yeah, that's what we got out of the deal. Oh, and then there's the part that really annoyed me, which was China bought 200 Boeing jets, which is great. Boeing is a huge manufacturer in the United States. They do a lot of work, the Western, Seattle down through California, and then on the East Coast as well. They have massive manufacturing. That is one of our largest manufacturers within the state. But the real part about all of that is that right before Trump went to China and convinced China to buy 200 jets from Boeing, he bought a bunch of stock from Boeing.
That I've been hearing about how that is a pattern.
Yes, a big pattern.
I really wish there was somebody keeping tabs.
There is. So, because he is a public official, he is required, the government is keeping tabs, which at this point, I don't know, that might be useless.
I mean,
But
accountability tabs.
there is supposed to be, that is what the Federal Trade Commission is for, is it is supposed to be the accountability, right? He has to, anytime he makes a stock purchase or sale over $1,000, he is required by law to file a thing. So at the end of every month, he's going to be, I don't know how often they have to do it, but he has to file that says he did it, right? And then it gets reviewed by the FTC. There is a pattern of him doing that, right? He bought NVIDIA stock before Nvidia, he made the deal to get Nvidia chips without the tariffs. He bought Boeing stock, and now Boeing's stock prices have gone up more than 25% because of the purchases from China. It repeats itself over and over and over again. He is quite literally committing what is the very definition of insider trading. Martha Stewart went to prison for this, and for far less money.
Mm-hmm. So that's what Trump is getting out of this then.
Yeah,
Just money.
just money. Yeah, just money.
And his son is buying part of Idaho.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, where is that? Do you remember, Lotus? Roughly? I know it was
I
like
want to say it's the Magic Valley.
Where he's buying part of, no, his son Barron Trump.
Yeah,
Smarsing,
Marsing, that's what it is.
Snake
I
River.
thought Barron was still a baby.
Barron's
No, he's a grown-ass
18,
adult.
19.
19?
He's
And he's making a development?
he's a grown adult. I mean, I don't know if he's like 18, 19, 20.
He's not fully
young.
developed in his brain, but he's an adult.
No, if he's over 18, then yeah, he's
And so he is invested with Russ Fulcher's nephew in a massive luxury real estate development on the shores of the Snake River, former
That's what it is.
fishing ground for many an Idahoan, outside Marsing, which is about to skyrocket all the property values in that area in a community that cannot afford it.
Yeah.
We're going to see more farms going up for sale.
Mm-hmm.
that is something else I would love to map out is what has happened. It's a common theme for rich developers.
Yeah.
To corner and privatize public lands.
Especially here.
Mm-hmm.
It's all over the West, but Idaho is treated by these developers and these out of state money guys like it is a thing that you get to take from and that
It's
they
rough.
have a right to it, even though it's our public land.
Oh, we'll keep hunting it down.
Yep, we will. And if the community says no to the sale of their public state land, just like they did out in Swan Valley near the Tetons, the community said no. There was a active contract with a rancher to continue using that land as a lease until 2030, 2032. And Brad Little got a $25,000 campaign donation from an out of state billionaire, and suddenly he gets to own a piece of some of the most beautiful, pristine land in Idaho.
Backroom deals.
Yep. Yep. And so that is happening. The China summit was really interesting in terms of what it revealed about priorities, which are clearly the tech bros get all the priority from the president, and that despite the fact that Boeing is not a good enough manufacturer of a new Air Force One, which they have been under contract for the last 10 years to do, apparently it takes a while to build a jet. I'm assuming throwing thousands of pounds of metal through the air probably requires a significant amount of safety checks and balances. But I'm not an aerospace engineer. But he didn't want to wait for the new Air Force One to be finished by Boeing, which is why he got the Qatari jet, the $400 million jet that is now going to cost $2 or $3 billion to retrofit and make sure it's actually safe for the president to fly in, and not
I think it
bugged
is
and all that.
400 million with an M, right?
I think it was million, but it was, Hillary Clinton couldn't wear a necklace,
right.
and Hunter Biden's laptop, whatever. So the corruption is in plain sight, y'all, and because it's in plain sight, so many people excuse it, like, oh, it's not corruption if we know about it. No, it's still corruption, even if we know about it. It is still corruption. And he is using the office of the presidency to personally enrich himself and his family. We haven't even talked about the fact that his sons have invested in drone companies that are now being contracted with the Department of Defense, because we're using a crap ton of drones to bomb Iran because we're in Iran war 1 or 2 or 3. I don't know what they're calling it now.
I think, I don't know.
They keep saying that every time there's a ceasefire, it's the end. And so now it's a new war, which is their skirt around to avoid the war powers resolution. And our Congress, including Risch, who is the head of the Foreign Relations Committee that should be making these calls, will do nothing and allow him to do that so that they don't have to challenge him or say no to anything. It's just, yeah. The corruption is in plain sight.
Well, that's a little bit of a downer, but let's look at what's coming up next.
Yeah, we got some
And end
upcoming
on a
stuff.
high note there.
Yeah, so the primaries are in full swing. By the time this goes out, you should be voting. It should go out tomorrow morning, which will be Tuesday, May 19th. So go vote.
And then
You still have time.
We'll know what we're up against for November.
Exactly, because then the real campaign
by the
start.
next time we're doing a podcast here. I don't know if we'll be ready to talk about it then.
Yeah.
But you'll be able to check it out and see.
Oh, I'll be ready to talk about it. I'm
already. You will.
And if you're not following like me on social media, you can get my like little 1 to 2 minute breakdowns on foreign policy and stuff through our.
Did we say
YouTube and
that if anybody is going to
stuff.
vote and doesn't see, first of all, voteidaho.gov, make sure it's the .gov, has who's going to be on your ballot, where to vote, like for your precinct. So go check that out to make sure that you're ready to get to the polls if you haven't already. And then if you're not sure how to get information on who to vote for on your ballot, bring your question to Idaho 5051's Facebook. There's also a lot of other places that you can check out voter guides, but if you want to find what voter guide to check out, I just recommend is that if you're at the last minute and you just need an answer.
Yep, that's a really good spot to get good answers.
I mean,
and
you
we
can
have
Pine here if you want.
Yes, because I have like a whole guide. Both for Democrat and Republican. Independents don't show up on a ballot
but just
primary.
Come ask the community is what I mean to say, because it's a community space. It's not like it's coming for a single voter guide. It's coming into a conversation.
Yep. So Veterans for Peace is holding a vigil on May 23rd at 10 a.m. at the Idaho State Capitol. It's to honor Memorial Day and the sacrifices of our soldiers, past and present, and the blood that they have lost and the lives that have been lost in defense and protection and honor of our country. Correct?
Right? And on their flyer, they say they're honoring everybody who's been lost in war.
Yeah.
Because they are veterans for peace.
Yep. They're an amazing group. They do incredible work with veterans groups, and they are, they're just a good group. And so leading into that on May 25th, which is Monday, Memorial Day at 4:30 p.m. at Kleiner Park, we are grilling for the people.
Yes.
We are holding a barbecue.
Come see us.
Come see us. We are feeding you for free. We will bring the hot dogs and the hamburgers and the vegetarian and vegan options, and providing for fun and entertainment with good music. And we're also bringing a whole bunch of people running for office into this space as well. Whether they lose or win their primaries, they will. Terry and Maxine have committed to being there. Kaylee will be there. The Easleys, many Democrats and Republicans running for smaller districts didn't have primary challengers, so you probably won't see them on your ballots. But we're trying to gather as many candidates as we possibly can to come and speak with the people. It is it's on Monday, May 25th at 4 p.m. 4:30 p.m. We are attempting to do a live broadcast at that time. We will see how that goes. There are a few pieces logistics that we're going to have to go, but we're going to try to go live at this event to talk to the candidates and get them out there. The Veterans for Peace is working with us. We're doing a fundraising drive to help raise food, non-perishable food items, and household supplies for veterans who are going from being unhoused to housed, and help them with that transition. So Veterans for Peace will be there collecting donations as well.
So if you're coming out, bring a potluck item.
And
bring your questions for the candidates, and bring something to donate. To support our community. In this case,
our veterans. Yeah.
Veterans for Peace.
Yes, we do ask that if you're capable, bring a potluck item to share with people. We're just trying to help ourselves make sure that we're not having to extend ourselves insanely far and provide. We will be providing hot dogs, hamburgers, buns.
We have the basics, but we don't want anybody to come and have to subsist on chips and hot dogs with buns. There will be vegan options as well. But
Yep. And then on June 27th, Idaho 5051 returns to our roots with a massive protest. There will be protests all across the country on that day. The theme of it is all of us are united and strong.
All of us 250.
Yeah, all of us
Because we've got it'll
250
be a few days ahead, a week ahead of
the
4th of
250th. Yep.
yes.
And so we are pushing for mass community involvement. There will be protests all across the state. Stand together, stand in solidarity, and let's remind these people what it actually means to be an American.
Woo.
Anything else we got coming up? I think that's it. That's like officially on our docket. We have many a thing coming
Go
up.
vote.
Go vote. All right. And that's all we've got for today, Guardians. If you want to get more involved in protecting our democracy, you can find more information at idaho50501.com. Please subscribe to us on Substack at idaho50501 and YouTube at the Idaho Vanguard to help grow the resistance. We don't like asking for money, but none of this is free for us. We would please use some donations to help grow our work, the resistance, and to keep our community strong and well informed. We do all of this for free, but it is not free to put on. The equipment costs money, the time and the effort and the energy. So if you can donate a little bit, that's really helpful to help us grow. We are working on creating a paid subscriber tier where information and things will be more frequent and different from what you get for free. But for now, just supporting us helps us do this more and more often. Remember to build up your community and keep the lives and families destroyed by ICE in your thoughts in the battle of scourge of creeping fascism side by side. Stay informed, Guardians. We'll see you out there.
Bye.